Hey guys, it's Lucy Kate and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you the 8 things that I was shocked about when I first moved to Japan. Yet another Japan themed content. If you're interested in Japan themed videos, I do have a playlist which I'll link down below with all my Japan themed videos. If you're not already, definitely hit the subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 8 things that I was the most shocked about when I first moved to Japan. So depending on how this video is received, I definitely want to make a second version, third version in the future. But today I'm just going to be sharing with you 8 things. So let's start with the number 1 thing that I was most shocked / surprised about when I came to Japan, and that is the restrooms. So I think Japanese toilets, Japanese restrooms are very famous for multiple reasons. The toilets, restrooms are so unique compared to other countries. First of all, you have the bidet feature, like all the buttons. I personally am too scared to press all the buttons, but the bidet is a popular feature. Not just that, but the fact that the toilet seats are heated, that was definitely something I was surprised about when I first moved, and it's something that I really miss. Like, I really appreciate those heated toilets, especially during the winter seasons. And another feature that they have in Japanese restrooms is the sounds. So basically in some toilets they have a feature where you can press muffling sounds, like bird sounds, so you have more privacy when you use public restrooms. So yeah, those features are very unique and part of the Japanese culture. But yeah, I really love Japanese restrooms. I miss how clean, hygienic, and high-tech they were. So the second thing that I was shocked about was the number of vending machines and convenience stores that you find in Japan. So when I talked to my previous Japan videos about what I like the most about Japan, what I miss the most, I mentioned both vending machines and convenience stores. One great thing about Japan is no matter where you are, even if you're located in the countryside, in a rural area, you can guarantee that you'll find vending machines and convenience stores. And it's even to the point where on the same street, especially in cities, so for example in Nagoya where I lived, in one street there's literally 2 or 3 convenience stores, like of different franchises. For example, there'd be a 7-Eleven and a Family Mart on the same street, and I really miss that convenience. Get it? Convenience stores. No, I really miss it. Vending machines as well, especially Japan's summers are extremely hot and it's easy to get dehydrated, especially if you're very, intolerant to the heat, which I am. So it was always convenient to have vending machines wherever I was. So I could get like sports water drinks like the Pocari or Aquarius drinks, and even in the winter seasons when it's cold, they have hot drinks in the vending machine like oshiruko. They have corn potage soup, they have hot coffees, hot teas. So yeah, vending machines I love, and the amount of drinks they have, like the drink variety, and like convenience stores itself, that's a whole other video topic. But that is definitely one positive thing that I was surprised about when I first came to Japan. Moving on to the third thing, this isn't necessarily a positive thing, but a culture shock, I guess. And I don't know how to name this, but it's basically clothing or attire that doesn't match the seasons, let's just say. Both sides of the spectrum. So first of all, in the summer seasons, I would be so surprised to see businessmen, like office workers, wear full-on suits with a blazer and tie, long pants in the hot summer seasons. If you've been to Japan during the summer, or if you live in Japan, you will know how scorching hot Japan's summers can get. And not just the fact that it's hot, it's extremely humid in Japan. So you're looking at 40+ degrees, and then there's no wind, so it's really humid. And yet even so, many businessmen, office workers, they would wear the jacket and the shirt, and they'd be like, using a fan or something, because obviously it's hot, they'd be sweating, but still they wear, proper attire. Like, they don't even wear like a short white shirt, if that makes sense. And then on the other hand, I would be surprised to see in the winter seasons, students would wear, for example, Japanese high school students would wear their school uniform, but they'd wear a skirt and then knee-high socks. Like, they wouldn't wear tights. And I have to admit, I did this at one point too, because our high school was an international high school. Like, you had the choice to either wear school uniform or not wear school uniform, and you can even wear like any skirt you want. Like, it was literally such a free school. So there was times where I wanted to experiment, and you know, because I like Sailor Moon and those kind of things, that I wanted to try wearing Japanese school uniforms. And I tried that in the winter season. You know, I wore a skirt. If I have a picture, I'll insert it. And I wore the socks. I was too cold and stopped doing that. Like, it's so cold, and yet I see the students wear these skirts. Also for sports classes, like even elementary school students, they'd wear short pants. They'd wear short length pants during the sports classes. So yeah. Both sides of the spectrum. You know, you'd see people wearing full-on suits in the summer season, and then in the winter season, students dressing in such thin clothing. So both of them I was really surprised about, especially because, I don't know, some Japanese schools, they don't really have like strong air conditioning, AC, or they don't have strong ACs. So in the summer it's really hot, in the winter it's cold. That's why you'll see the students use those blankets. It was a culture shock for me, definitely. Moving on to number 4 on my list of 8 shocking things I discovered when I moved to Japan, and this is a Christmas tradition that Japanese people have, and that is to eat KFC on Christmas Day. This was definitely something that was very new to me. So in the Western culture, KFC is a regular fast food joint. You know, it's basically everywhere. You can eat it any day, so you wouldn't think to eat it on Christmas Day. So in the US, you have the tradition of eating like a roast turkey or roast chicken for both Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. For Japan, I would say that there isn't such of a tradition to like eat a proper, like, you know, roast turkey, roast chicken, like have a roast dinner. And so KFC is considered special. That's why people literally reserve the KFC buckets or like Christmas buckets like a few weeks in advance. There was a nearby KFC where I lived, and every time on Christmas Day they would be lining up. They wouldn't even accept regular orders on Christmas Day. They'd only do pickups in some occasions. That's how popular it was. And kind of jumping onto that fact, but of course Christmas is, you know, it's a religious holiday, and so in Japan it's not a full-on holiday. I'd say Japan takes New Year's more seriously. That's why on New Year's Day everything is shut down, but Christmas Day actually everything is pretty much open. I mean, people celebrate it for fun, but it's not a full-on holiday that they celebrate. It's not a religious holiday to them. Everything is pretty much open. Christmas Day is pretty much more considered as a couple's day in Japan, so that is kind of another surprising thing. The 5th thing that I was surprised about when I moved to Japan, and that was how accurate everything was. Everything is on time in Japan. Of course, there are, you know, a few occasions where that's not the case, but pretty much the subways, the trains are so accurate, they're efficient, they're so convenient. I mean, I've already talked about this in my previous Japan videos, but the trains arrive on time. Even if they're like 1 minute late, they put out a full-on apology. Not just trains and systems, but I'd say people as well tend to meet on time. People tend to come early. It really depends on the culture, I guess. Even in America, like depending on the state, I would imagine that New York is more like Japan, where everybody is on time, you know, everyone is busy. Whereas living in Hawaii now, there's definitely a thing called island time, and I have to admit, I've kind of taken that to my advantage. Like, I would say I'm more on island time nowadays when it comes to like times. I always say in advance when I'm running late, but I pretty much always run 10 to 15 minutes late, let's just say. But Japan, I'd say, is not like that. But however, Okinawa is more like Hawaii, and I'm pretty sure Okinawa, I've heard, is more of like an island time culture where people are more, you know, in a slow pace of life. But main part of Japan, you know, everyone is on time, trains are on time, everything is very well organized, very systemized, and that can go both ways. I think I talked about that in one of my videos, how it's good that everything is organized, but sometimes that can be a disadvantage when they have to follow by the rules, like sentence by sentence. There's no wiggle room for like negotiation, basically. But yeah, that is definitely a unique part of Japanese culture, I'd say, the efficiency. Next one is the excellent service that you will receive at restaurants or cafes. Of course, this again is a very general statement. some cases it's different, it's really case by case, but in general, the service that you receive from restaurants and cafes is very good. I have 2 points that proves this statement. So one is oshibori. So oshibori is basically like a hand towel, a hand wipe, and majority of places in Japan you receive a hand wipe / hand towel when you enter, when you sit down at the table. I was not used to this, and it's definitely something I miss. You know, it's always good to wipe your hands, especially if you've been out shopping, if you're a germaphobe. It feels good to wipe your hands. And another thing I love is in the summer seasons, they give you the cold regular wipes. But depending on the places, in some places in the winter time, they will give you warm towels, which feels so good if you've been outside in the cold, like to wipe your hands in with the warm towel. So that is something I haven't seen in other countries. And then another example of the service that you can get is baskets to place your bags, like shopping bags and handbags. You know, I myself do not like placing my handbag on the floor. Like if I'm at a restaurant or a cafe, I never place my bags on the floor. You know, you don't want to place your handbags on the floor. So whenever I, you know, go to a restaurant or cafe and I sit down, I sometimes hang my bag on the back of my seat. It is dangerous depending on where you are, right? So sometimes I have it on my lap, or I just place it on a spare chair, like a spare chair for my handbag, if that makes sense. But in Japan, they give baskets. So I'll insert pictures because, you know, it's hard to explain, but they'll give out baskets so you can place your handbags and your shopping bags, so you don't need to place it directly on the floor. That is definitely something I miss, and it's one of those things that when you're in Japan, it's atarimae. It just feels obvious, like to receive a basket, to receive a hand wipe. But when you move to another country, when you move back to another country, you realize those small things, the small parts of Japanese culture that you really start to miss. 2 more things on the list, and this one is a cultural shocker for many countries. That is that Japanese people slurp their noodles loudly. This is definitely something I was shocked about. I, of course, being raised in a Western culture, was taught that it's rude to, you know, make sounds when you're eating, and it's never something that I have done personally. So when I moved to Japan and I would eat, you know, meals with, for example, Japanese acquaintances, I was very surprised when I was a child to hear them slurp the noodles so loudly. I mean, of course, not everyone slurps it really loudly, but they do make sounds, and it's considered okay. It's not considered a taboo. There's many reasons why Japanese people slurp the noodles, apparently. One positive thing, apparently, by slurping noodles is even if it's hot, you can kind of blow the noodles at the same time, so it's easier to eat. But even to this day, I can never slurp my noodles. Like, I cannot make sounds when eating. I eat it silently, even if it takes longer to eat. But it was definitely a big cultural shock to me when I first moved to Japan. The last thing that I have on my list today is to do with earthquakes, and that is how calm Japanese people react when there is an earthquake or an earthquake siren. I moved to Japan in 2011, and a major event that happened in 2011 was the Tohoku earthquake, and I moved in the beginning of 2011. So I was actually in Japan during the Tohoku earthquake tsunami. It was literally like a month after I moved. And so after that earthquake, there was some aftershocks even where I was located. And, you know, throughout my years in Japan, there's been small earthquakes, and I'm always still to this day amazed at how Japanese people are quick to react to earthquakes. Everyone goes straight under their desks in schools, in the classrooms. They go straight under their desks and they're calm about it. Whereas, you know, when I first experienced earthquakes, even though I've never experienced huge earthquakes, everyone is calm about it. They go under their desks. There's no panic. Magnitude 4 or 5 I experienced once, and when everything was shaking, I was panicking. Like, my first thought was to panic and not to go under the table, whereas, you know, Japanese people are very calm with it, of course, because Japan is prone to earthquakes. And there's also training during schools. They have earthquake drills and fire drills, and that is something that I experienced in my high school days too. So yeah, I also want to make a video in the future basically sharing my experience in going to a Japanese school. Like, even though my school was an international school, it kind of took parts from each culture, if that makes sense. In some ways it was very Americanized, very westernized, but in other ways they still followed some Japanese customs and traditions. So I definitely want to like share more in-depth shocking things about experienced Japanese school life, so that will be in a future video. But yeah, that is it for today's video, just sharing some of my top 8 things that I was personally very surprised about when I first moved to Japan, some culture shocks. If you've ever gone to Japan on vacation or lived in Japan, please share with me your culture shocks down below. If you have any Japan themed topics you'd like me to cover, also feel free to comment those requests down below too. And that is going to be it for today's video. I'm actually wearing a Honolulu shirt today, so not Japan themed at all. But yeah, if you want to see me make a Hawaii version of this, I think that would be a fun video topic to do as well. If you're not already, hit the subscribe button. I try to upload videos every weekend. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye guys!